what I always told people about Congress is we usually agreed, but there were some issues we disagreed on, but that's what everybody seemed to focus on because of this culture of political hatred that we live in now. But these two, really a shining example to everybody in Washington, D.C., especially those people on the debate stage the other night.
You know, this is kind of a postcard from another era. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of cynical people will say that people talk about a culture of compromise and a centrist culture, and that's a cop-out. Well, it's not. Because at our best, we've had moments of consensus and personal bonds that have, at different points, created a warmer way to conduct our politics. And I think the Ginsburg-Scalia relationship is, in some ways, emblematic of a Washington that has fallen apart. Do we think either one of those people, because of their friendship, ever compromised their deeply held principles? No. But did their friendship actually come out of a shared love of country and a love of the institution? Yes. And I think that's something that we can all learn from.
And Justice Ginsburg said we were best buddies. We disagreed, and this would be surprising to people, but we disagreed now and then. But she wrote about Mike Barnicle, how she was made better. She was made better because of Justice Scalia. And the harsh rhetoric that would offend so many people reading the text, actually Ruth Bader Ginsburg saw as a blessing because it made her focus on her weaknesses of argument. She said, my opinions were always better because of his tough, stinging dissents.
Well, you know, Joe, it speaks, as John just indicated, to the deterioration of our political system, not the judicial system. We just saw that emphasized, but the political system. Watching that clip, I would ask you, could you imagine Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid sitting down and having a similar conversation as did Justice Ginsburg and Justice Scalia?
But talk about this, a postcard from a different era. You told me a great story one time about Teddy Kennedy, your friend. And somebody went to Teddy Kennedy and asked for something. He said, listen, if I did that for you, I would get killed. But I'm going to call my good friend Orrin. He can get it through the Senate for you. And, you know, he goes, but I'm going to stay away. But those two, Ted Kennedy and Orrin Hatch, had a wonderful friendship. Nobody would ever accuse them of compromising on their closely held principles because they were dear friends.
Well, not only that, Joe, but I mean, it's hard to frame it up for people who really don't dwell on it as we sometimes dwell on it. But in the space of a mere 20 years, the entire system has changed, and I would submit it's changed largely because of the emphasis on money in the system, the emphasis on fundraising. So people on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, they just no longer have the time to get to know one another, to get to know one another's families in the district, in Washington, D.C., because they're always raising money. They're always going to fundraisers, always going back to their states.
And